I know, I guess I'll be marking on this another time, but I have a family member who is a distant cousin who every family of Holocaust survivors has someone in it who is interested in history and keeping track of all the distant cousins and great grandparents and all that. So I share a great grandfather with this person. That's our shaykhis. Can somebody do me a favor, Eric? Could you close that window? Yeah. So to make a long story short, he sends out occasional emails updating everybody on their new discoveries. Yesterday, he sent out a picture they found of a common great aunt, a great great aunt in Auschwitz. These are the kind of pictures that come out in these kind of chats. And just to close the circle, yesterday he sends out that Alicia, I forgot his name, Levin Stern, we never knew or even heard of until yesterday, was Nebuch, killed in Gaza. So now this war has become personal. I now have a family member who Hashem Yikayim Damai, who was taken away. He was seemed to have been an exceptional, fine, chashuv young man, a Talmud Chacham, a graduate of the yeshiva in Yerucham that has lost, I think, either 8 or 9 Talmidim. Left over a family, a wife at Tzedekis. She put out a video which is unbelievable. So I'm now saying that I have now a personal loss to put into the hopper here. So when you say Tillim, everybody should be mispelled that there should be no more losses. Okay, so today we're inaugurating a little bit of a limud that is separate from our Yardea / our Chaim. It happens to be falling out the way it worked out as we wrap up Hilchos Mezuzah, which we'll be doing this week. We gave it an extra week because our Rabbanim felt that there are still topics that they wanted to cover. So tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have 3 shiurim after Rabbi Weiss's shiur on Hilchos Mezuzah, 3 shiurim filling in the wish list that I have referred to several times, which we have not been able to do. Important issues such as Chanoya Shebeshvakim, important issues on Hilchos Bedika and moving into a house and taking away mezuzah when you're not necessarily going to stay there. Important halachos in the last Sifin Shulchan Aruch in every day that we haven't yet done those last Sifim, plus coming back to Chazra, some of the things that we've done. That's the schedule. I will send out a roadmap in Mirz Hashem when I get a few moments. And then next week, there will be Psichais to Hilchos Tefillin. Hilchos Tefillin is divided, of course, and again into 2 parts. The part that is most negated to a person every single day, Hanachas Tefillin, which starts on Chaf Hei and goes still Lamed Beis, from Lamed Beis through Lamed Daled, is Sefer Dika Inyanim of Ksivas Tefillin, though of course it contains a lot of Shas Sugis. We'll probably dip into them a little bit, and maybe we'll revisit the Safras when it comes to Tefillin. But obviously the Ikra Gusha will be on the first 5 or 6 simanim, which have numerous sugis, and again, many shas sugis, which extend beyond Hilchos Tefillin. So the first week will be devoted to Psicha. The Psicha will contain the explanations of the importance of Hilchos Tefillin. We'll talk about issues such as Alicia, Hanavi, Alicia Bal Knafayim, and Kakafta, the Manach Tefillin, the Loy Manach Tefillin, the importance of the mitzvah Tefillin. That should take us a week, and then we will begin Tefillin in earnest. Need to consult with the Rabbanim to see if we're going to do it Al Pi Seder Shulchan Aruch or Al Pi Seder Shas, which are not the same as Hilchos Mezuzah. Hilchos Mezuzah we did it Al Pi Shulchan Aruch, and we went back to the Shas as needed. I assume that will be the same in Hilchos Tefillin. Okay, so for today we're going to get a little bit of a halachic break by going into another a chelik of Shulchan Aruch, and that's the Shulchan Aruch Chaysh Mishpat. I'm going to stop learning Chumash with you. So if I can get the Marmakaims that I sent out yesterday evening, I'm not sure they were distributed. I assume they were. I'm not sure. Basic Marmakaimis in Hilchos Shemrim. We're going to do an introduction to Hilchos Shemrim. So the entire Hilchos Shemrim in the Torah gets what for the Torah Gdaisha is, where every ice in the Torah, which was created before the world and through which the world was created. Punkt last night I learned with my Nefesh Chaim Chabura, Shar Dalid Prakim Yud Aleph, which talk about how the importance of the Torah in sustaining the world. It's not the Torah helps. It's not the Torah is an additive. Not the Torah is like oxygen. Torah is the world. So every word in the Torah is Elamais, which are beyond Hasagasenu. And here in the Torah and Parshas Mishpatim and Perek Chav Beis, we get 1, 2, starting in Pasuk Vav, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 psukim in the Torah, full psukim in the Torah devoted to Hilchais Shemrim. Embedded in it is some other issues such as Maidav Mikzas, but Hilchais Shemrim. What happened to the screen? I'm not sure. Some reason
it's working fine on Zoom.
Zoom is working fine, but it's not working fine here. I don't know why Daniel Kalbach is not here. You think it's gonna I don't know Daniel Kalbach. Right. Okay. We have a crowd here. So see if you're there. Whoever can come here and set up here, because this is highly unusual. I have to apologize that I'm here. It never works out that we don't have the screen, but we'll try to do the best we can. I'll try to rederize the best I can. So the pasuk says, "Kit nishal re'el kesef akel lishmar." So the pasuk you have the first mention of Shmira. Keaton Israel Kesef Akel Lishmar. So that is bullet point number 1, and it was stolen. So the Gemara says, the pasuk says, "Yimatzeh Agan of Shalom Shnayim Malach of Kefil," which is beyond even Shaimer. And Yimatzeh Agan of, then the Shaimer has to swear. What does he have to swear about? Shalach Yadai the Meleches Re'eu. So this is bullet point number 2. There is a Chiyuv Shaimrim, Shula B'Shaimrim, Midairaisa. It's one of the Gimel Shulais, which are Midairaisa, including the one of the next pasuk, which is Kiyuzeh, which is Maidav Mikzas. Shula Shaimrim Midairaisa. The pasuk tells you that the Shula that you're swearing is Shlichus Yad. Before we even know how you become a Shaimer, before we even know what Chiyuv Shaimer there are, the pasuk tells you is that you're clearly not allowed to be Shaleach Yad b'Meleches Re'eu. And the Gemara says, the Torah says, I'm just reading Psukim here. I'll call Bar Pesha, Chamar, whatever that means. And Rashi says that any Pesha, which means that Adam came, that turns out that the Shemer was not only Shaleach Yad, but he is the person who was the Ganav, and that includes Chamar El Se'asam Kol Aveda, which is a group of things in the Torah which are Nidrash in great detail in Chazal, what it means to include or exclude, and Klal Prat and Klal, and Ribu Mut and Ribu. In all these cases, obviously, as you all know, is Lefi Pshutesh Mikra means this is what we're swearing about, and Lefi Drashas Chazal is Maidav Mikzas. Ado Him Yoved Varshneim. It's required to come to Besdin. Nashay Shino Him Yishalem Shnayim Lirei Ehu. Yisrael is not Kodesh, it is Chayil. That is pasuk number 1. In the second pasuk, in pasuk Tes, Kit Nishal Rei Chamayr Shar Ser Chol Behem Lishmar. Why is there Kesef and Kalim and Vav and a pasuk Tes Chamayr Shar Chol Behem Lishmar? Umeis died. I don't know how he died. a nishbar, broke, a nishba, captured, taken to a hostage, ein raya. Yeah, my next pasuk, thank you. Ein raya. What does that mean? We don't know. Again, the pasuk says it's got to be a shua, that there should not shlichas yad, v'lakach balav le'yishalem, miganem mi'ima yishal balav, that this shamer is chayiv on geneva, im taraf yuviu aid, atrefa le'yishalem. Adkan, entire, did I say 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sukkim of shamer. And now we get to a category which is included in Shaimer. It's included in the Dal Shaimer, as we'll see in a moment. But here the Torah specifies, unlike in the first two parshiyos. The reason why I say parshiyos is because the Gemara will have a big issue about Eruv parshiyos, which we'll see soon. But now the Gemara, the pasuk tells you exactly which category we're talking about. So this is now clearly identified as a shayel. Benishbar a mace. Balav and imay shalim yishalim. Balav imay le yishalim. Msachar babaschara. So we have two psukim here, which are clearly rooted and identified with and talking about the shayel. And here the Torah again uses the same phrase, nishbar, and here he adds a mace, same as in pasuk tes. And then the pasuk says something which is tzarachiyun, and the pasuk spends two psukim talking about this halacha, which is l'chayra a prat in dinei shaya, and this is the halacha of ba'alav imay, ba'alav ein imay yishalim yishalim, and ba'alav imay lo yishalim. That the pasuk is spending a lot of time telling you this halacha in ilchay shayel, that there is a chiyuv of ein ba'alav imay yapater, ein ba'alav imay yachayev. What does that mean? So this phrase is totally ambiguous, but at least introduces the word sacher into our firmament. We now know, in addition to whoever is identified in pasuk vav, whatever shamer that is, and whichever type of shamer there is in pasuk tes, we now know we have two additional things. We have a shayel, as the Torah says in pasuk gimel, and we have something called a sachir. Babischarai. We don't know what this means, and we don't know what the sachir's halacha is, and all this is going to be explicated by Chazal in what is called and Yanei and Hilchais Shaimrim. And in Shaimrim are scattered in various places in Shas. The core halachais that we will be concentrating on are in Perek at the end. For some reason, Rabbeinu Kaddish threw us a little bit of a curveball here, and was discussing this with my son. We have to put together all the Marmakai Mesilcha Shaimer. He said, don't do the amateur mistake of not starting in the seventh Perek of a Seichas Apayilim, where for whatever reason the Mishnah on the Dalet Shaimrim is encoded there, and certain basics in Chiv Shmira are in the last several amudim of Perek Seichas Apayilim, and which we will discuss because the big brisa we have copied here. But we'll go back to that Mishnah in a moment, just to go through the basics of the Chiyuv Shaimer. So encoded in these 7 sukkim are numerous halachais. We're going to use Perek Shayel between Daf, I guess, Sada Gimel and on. Sada Gimel on base where Shayel starts, and on. There are several sugyas scattered around on the 4 Shaimer. Perek Shayel, as the name indicates, does concentrate basically on Hilchei Shayel, even though all Shaimrim are included. You can freeze it here. The Chiyuvim and the Halachos of Shemer Chinam and Shemer Sachar and Sachir are sometimes embedded in Perek Shayel, sometimes located off-site. So the job we have here is to introduce Shairim in general today, two shiurim by two very chashuv, both Dayanim and Magidei Shir, both Rabbi Veg and Rabbi Roth have a lot of experience in explaining these concepts. I asked Rabbi Veg to discuss as an introduction to Shairim, the basic chiyuv of Shairim, which we'll be discussing a lot because there's a lot of lumdis and a lot of halacha associated with that. And Rabbi Roth will introduce the basic concept of shayol. So I'm going to spend the next half hour that we have here available, 35 minutes, to introduce some of the Gemaras and some of the concepts to you, so you know what's going on here. So we already know that there's four Shaimrim right in front of you on the Gemara Daf Tzadik Daled on Beis. We're being economical here, so I'm going to read you the Mishnah that is on the end of the seventh parak, or better yet, I'm not sure who is in charge of the screen sharing here, but if it's Pesach, if you go back to the end of Perik Hashayel, you don't have it here in the package I sent you. You'll have to go back to the Gemara. Let me give you the daf. Yeah, okay, the Yom before. This is a separate issue of Masne, Shem Eschachar, and Shem Rechinam. Just scroll back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah is on Daf Tzadik Gimel Amud Aleph. The Mishnah says, Abba Shairim Hain. It'll help in a second. Just scroll back to Tzadik Gimel Amud Aleph.
Next page.
The page before, not the next page, the page before. I don't know who's in charge here, but let's scroll it back. Okay. Abar Shairim Hain. Rabbi say, if you're not a regular, we have unlimited, of course, to tell you to my partners who do the heavy work of the screen sharing. Any Yekuvim are the computer's fault. No one else's. Sometimes it takes time to scroll things. They don't happen instantly. I am not in control of that, and therefore I don't always know what's going on. So kindly bear with us. So the mission says, that's the order. Why this order? This is not the order of the Torah. Order of the Torah was a Seicher last. Well, so what's the particular order we have in the Mishnah? Good question. So let's see. The Mishnah wants to tell you that there is a mikatza lekatza. Rashi says all the other ma'aris are in the psukim. It's in the bottom Rashi, 2 lines from the bottom, 3 lines from the bottom. 4 lines from the bottom. Everything that is all happenstances that happen for other shemrim, and therefore those shemrim are chayiv. A shemachinim is not that way. Nishba, can you bring the marker down? Nishba, there, thank you. Lakach, also lay. All you have to swear is that these things happened without anything further. Upatu. Come on, be'ashayel yavlo masnisan mikrai. Glumas is mikrai. The entire Mishnah that's brought here in the end of Perik, Seichos Apoilim, the Gemara and Ashayel Darshans. Why it's divided 2 prakim? That's a good question. Alakoyel Geneva Vaveda Va'insim. So Rashi tells you the core chiyuvim that we are going to be discussing is Geneva Aveda, and Einstein. So Gneva and Aveda are referenced in the pasuk numerous times. The pasuk says the words Gneva in Vav and Zayin, and there the Gneva is whether the Shomer was going of it. Pasuk does not obviously say Gneva in pasuk Tes and Yud on the Chiyuvim, but then in pasuk Gidal there's a big pasuk which clearly says Im Ganev Yiganev Me'imai Shalei Labala B'Chayim Van Gneva. So the shaila is who is Chayiv and what? And as Rashi says here, the Gemara is going to explicate each one of these things. The Gemara here starts off with a very, very major machlekes Tanaim, which we might as well chaperine here. Mantana, Arab Shaimrim, Amrav Nachman, we are Meirahi. Amalei Rav Nachman, Mikad Lessa Arab Shaimrim. Does anybody argue with this? Anybody analyzing Psukim, any Tana say that's not the case? Amalei Acha Kaminalach, Mantana Seicher Kanais Sachar Rav Meirahi. Rav Meir says that a Seicher has exactly the same dinim in the Shemer Sachar. A renter, you went to Avis, you rented a car. On the what scenarios are you chayiv if something happened? So we're going to see in a second. This is a machlekes tonight. So we have a major machlekes here. Why? Because as we'll see, the Gemara explicates the chiyuv Mashar Mechina Mashar Sachar doesn't explicate the chiyuv of Seicher, which allows the senior Tanaim, Rabbi and Meir, to be chaylik what the halacha of a Seicher is. Seicher is a renter, very negay ladina. When we start discussing halacha l'maisa, many of the shilas will be negay to a Seicher. Seicher has a lot of prominence in our halachic world. Both Schiris Metaltlin and Schiris Karkais and Batim, which is a whole different sugya, but a very important one. It comes under the Daled Shaimer. You didn't realize this, but when you rented an apartment, when you were a young man, you rented an apartment, you're under Daled Shaimer because you're a Seicher. What happens when something goes wrong? What happens when your car gets that you rented is unfortunately chas v'shalom in a crash v'chulu. So the machlekes hanam here. The Meir says a Seicher only has the obligations of a Shem Rechinam, whatever those are. Reverse. The names are reversed. There's only three because Seicher and Sachar are the same. And the Gemara says, you're right. Dal Ed Shaimrim V'Dineim Shaloisha. Adkan, the introductory part of the Mishnah. Adkadei Kach. Bearish Elephant. What a pleasure to see you. Shalom Aleichem. I haven't seen you in such a long time. I'm looking forward to learning with you. Nobody knows what's going on in the world, but we know one thing: learning together is the best thing that we can possibly do. Okay, you look younger since I last saw you. Let's discuss the characterization of Shaimrim, and let's discuss a little bit what the mechayev of the Arba Shaimrim are. So, if you go to the Gemara Nashayel, which is on our Marmakaimis in the second page. The Gemara starts broadening out the necessary language. The mission at the beginning of a Shayel really concentrates on the Psukim in the Torah, which talk about Balav Yimai. And I want to do an introductory brisa first on page our Marmakaimis page 2. After the Chumash, we can go over to our set. It's not awesome. The Mishnah here in the Shayel of Tzadik Dalet Omid Beis is referring to a Mishnah. Arba Shaimrim Heim. Shaimer Chinam, V'Hashayel, Neisei Sachar, V'Haseicher. There you go, line 6, line 7. Just have the package ready because I'm going to be moving around and it's easier in the package because I need to go at some point in the next 20 minutes into a little bit further into the Shulchan Aruch, perhaps. So let's first start with the Gemara. The Gemara says there are 4 Shaimrim, and the Gemara explicates what the Chayuvim are. Shemachem nishba l'koil, v'hashayel mishalem. We'll do the best we can. Shemachem nishba l'koil, v'hashayel mishalem es hakoil. That is reasonably straightforward enough. Noisei sachar. Now the Brisa adds the material that we did not have earlier. V'haseicher, Hashem sachar. Someone who's paid to watch. That is called a noisei sachar. V'haseicher nishboyin al hashvura v'al hashvoya al hamesa. They are chayiv in everything except if it's unusual. Shvura, shvoya, and mesa is considered to be unusual, and therefore there should be no chi of shmira either as a shemer sachar or as a seicher, and therefore they need a shvua to swear that this is something that they would be potter from. Nevertheless, because they're getting paid, they are required to protect against avedas geneva. You take your coat and you put it into the check in the wedding hall. All of a sudden you come, you give him the ticket, coat's not there. Who's chayiv? No. Rabbi side, pipe up here. This is an interactive conversation.
Actually, they usually say they don't take responsibility.
So Eric already knows. A little ticket printed in tiny letters. These are professors, so they know the things. No, we don't take responsibility. But halachically, can they do that? Can they do that?
Even
that's
legally,
also, can a shemer sachar disclaim responsibility? The Gemara says masne shemer chinam to be chayav like a shemer sachar. You can go up in liability. Can you go down in liability? Let's take the little words out. Let's say. What's the fancy word? Okay, Snyder, what's the fancy word for this consignment operation? What is the guy?
Bailments.
What?
Bailments. In English, it's called bailments.
Exactly. So we have a bailee,
The Baylor.
and a bailor. Who's the mafked and who's the nifked? I'm going to use
The Baylor owns the thing. The Bailey is the one who's using it.
The bailee is a nifked, correct? Okay, let's use nifked. So what's the story in my case? You put your code in there, and so now l'chayra they're shomrei sachar, right? They're not sitting there for their own health. They're not sitting in the wedding hall for their own health. Someone is getting paid. So l'chayra they took responsibility k'shomrei sachar, and therefore if it's nevad or nignav. Chayav to give you back your coat.
But they didn't take responsibility to you. They're not getting paid by you, by the bailey. They're being paid by the owner of the hotel or whatever it is.
So you're getting now into details. I didn't say I'm going to take the poor lady to Besdin. I'm going to take the owner of the hall to Besdin. Owner of the hall was Makabel Shmira, and this is what we're going to talk about, how one is Makabel Shmira on something. And he was Makabel Shmira if we had to identify it. Now, a lot of the work that we're going to have to do on the halachic scenarios is trying to categorize which parsha a Baylor, I keep forgetting it, the Nifkad is, and at what point the Nifkad was Makabel Shmira, and if there is a dispute between the mafkid and the Nifkad of being Makabel Shmira, this is all what makes these halachas fun, geschmack, categorization. That's what we're here for. Shemetzachar, Shemachina, Pshia, Aveda. I will tell you, Rabbi say, that this sugya, I'm taking a gamble here on this sugya because it is much more complicated than the Cheshmish sugya we did last year, Avani Mapa Charara and Yel Technos Chavarida, which was limited to one basic question scenario and three machlekes in both in the Gemara and Rishonim. Here there are numerous issues, numerous machlekes in, and it's much more rich and complex. I wasn't counting on a war, so I'm still hoping that things will settle down and I'll be able to put a lot of time into this because it is very geschmack and very very challenging. And as I said, one of the challenges is figuring out which category the mafkid and the nifkad are I'm getting it. The Gemara, after putting down this basic and the basic issue here, we finished the Gemara goes into basically a amud and a half of limudim, which takes the parshiyos, the psukim that we learned together a few moments ago, calls them parsha rishayna and parsha shniya, and works through limudim, and which tell you why each one of those things are chayev and under which conditions. That is the explication of the chiyuvim. We are going to move backwards here today and try to figure out when and how a person is designated as a shomer. While we're here, let's learn the Taisus Dirya Maskal Shomer Chinam Nishba Lakoil. Says Taisus, Leichashav Pshia. Taisus says that there's something we're very obvious here that's missing. I would say of all the scenarios, I leave this one on. Tzvi, leave this one on. So yeah, let's leave it on. I think the screen is clear. Yeah, let's leave it on for the second. Maybe when the Rav comes, we'll close. A very very big geirim to dinei chaysh mishpat and these people is pshia. Pshia is a big part of the action because there the pshia is a paiter or a machayev for the nifkad, and allows the mafkid to claim that he's entitled to all his money. So what happened to pshia as Taisus? The Gemara is only discussing the differences between the various shayrim. Everybody is chayev and pshia. The Torah is coming to tell you, the Gemara is coming to tell you here that a shayel is mechayev in every one of the possible scenarios in the parsha. Have different chalukei dinim, as you know. A shayel is chayev on everything, except two things. One is meisa mach malacha. Shayel rishus last malacha is pater. The second is be'alav imay. Rabbi said, what we are going to do in this limud, the next 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks that we have, is we are going to be discussing three major issues, and then a host of sub-issues. Major issue number one is the concept of chayvus of shomer, what makes a person a shomer, and what meanings or minds are necessary. And then the operating arm, since there are 15 sugyas here that we could pick in the other shaymerim, we're going to talk about the other shaymerim. I wouldn't say tangentially, but on the side, we'll get to them. But the Ikar Hadgasha is going to be Perek Shayel and Hilchais Shayel. There are two, I guess, 3, 4 major issues in Shayel. First of all, what makes a person a Shayel? Second is the two. At what point a person required? Do you need a kinyan to be considered a shayel? Can you become a shayel off somebody else? Can you become a shayel after you're another type of a shaymer? But the two major operating arms of lumdus in the sugyas of shayel are the question of pshia b'bailim and patur of ba'ol of imay. This kind of a challenging question of why the Torah patterned something if ba'al of imay, and a whole amud of Gemara which discusses different scenarios of what is considered to be ba'al of imay, including some surprising ones. You know, if there was a possible shayel transaction between you and your Charles Rabbi, do you know that there's a possibility that there's a patur here because of she'ilim bailim, one bailim? Do you know that when we go to Eretz Yisrael for our Yachikala and you borrow something from the Yitzchak Zilberstein, maybe there's a patur of she'ilim bailim? No, Daniel, Tzvi rescued us of she'ilim bailim. Why would that be? Why would that be? You're going to find out, to your surprise, that there are categories of shayel and therefore pturim of ba'al imai in places that you didn't think so. The second one is mesa machmas malacha. Mesa machmas malacha is an exception to the shayel chayiv. Last year, as a test case, we learned mesa machmas malacha for a day. We're going to chazah that because it is one of the main operating arms of shayel. That is the two basic hadgashas that we're going to be be concentrating on after we go through the categorization of the Dalet Shemrim and the chiyuvim of the Dalet Shemrim. So let's see, according to the parsha that we have, the Torah was after telling you the basic categories, the Torah was kail the brisa that a shemachim is nishgal achayil, except for pshia. Why is the shemachim nishgal pshia? And he's nifter. Why is the shemachim not nishgal pshia? Because pshia is a basic isnagdus to the chiyuvim, responsibilities that a shemer entered into. Could you do me a favor, watch my car for 5 minutes while I go into the store? Sure, shemachinam. And now comes the question. You're watching the guy's car. The guy left the keys in the car. You decided to go on your phone. You said, sure. You decided to go on your phone. A guy comes in and takes the car away. This happened to a friend of mine in Yerushalayim, in the gas station right outside the Knisa La'ir, block away a couple of weeks ago. Achmal Hassan, there was a terrorist incident, but he did the following story happen. He comes to the gas station. He leaves. He needs to fill up gas. He tells the attendant to fill up his gas. For whatever reason, he leaves the car running and the keys in the car, and he goes in to buy something, a bottle of water. Before he goes, he turns to the guy filling up the gas. He says, "I'm just going right into the kiosk, into the store." He's in the store. The guy puts the thing into the car to fill the gas. Turns away. An Arab gets into the car and steals the car. I know it's a shocking story. To make yourself feel better, they tracked the car. It had a transponder, and all the new rental cars are, and they tracked it down, and they found it in Ramallah the next day, reasonably intact. And then, of course, it was a whole to do with as a seicher, it was all to do what degree of responsibility he had. Didn't happen to Bezin because Hertz Ravis doesn't go to Bezin. But under Hilchais Shemrim, a guy who says, sure, is a Shemer Chinam. But l'chayr, that's enough to be Makabel Shmira, or not. We'll see. He turned away for a moment to answer a phone in his car, and the guy stole the car. Could happen in any city in New York, in America, especially today. The Palestinians stole your car. Then you don't have to be you don't have to end up in Ramallah for the Palestinians today to steal your car. The guy who said sure and turned away onto the phone. Chayiv or not?
Shouldn't be.
Why not?
Who leaves a car running with the keys in the car when you leave? You take your keys with you. That's an overriding pshia before the nivkat ever got it.
So who was Pasheya here? The mafkid kindness you Shomer Chino with Pasheya because you turned away. You should have watched my car. You accepted Shmira. The nifkat has a counter taina. You were Pasheya. You left the key in the car. The mafkid tainas, but you saw the key in the car. So when you makabel Shmira, Sever V'Kibbul, you saw the key in the car, and therefore the chiyuv of Shmira that you undertook was keys in the car because you knew the keys in the car. No, I didn't know the keys in the car. Endless back and forth, not endless, but back and forth, all trying to establish who the pshia is on, because the Shemer Chinam is the only way he can be mechuyev if he is paisheya. What is the definition of pshia? So Chazal tell you partly what the definition of pshia is, and the Paiskim tell you the rest of the way what the definition of pshia is. So the first thing we need to know is when and what constitutes Kabbalas Shmira. The Gemara, Litzarenu, does not say, Tan Rabbanan, Haresha Amar, Hamalach Hagoy Leisim Kol Rav, Ani Mekabel Shmira, Kibel Shmira. The Gemara does not say that. And therefore, we have to use Rabbi Seino Rishainim to buy ice. What constitutes this concept of Kabbalah Shmira? Sure, I'll watch your car. I'm putting my coat into the coat rack, into the coat check. Okay. Can I borrow your pen? To show you. Okay. A seicher. We'll find out that it's not even so partial what a seicher is, even though a seicher would seem to be straightforward. You seem to have an explicit agreement of how much I'm paying you for what. We'll see what a seicher is. But the first question is, when is a person in the mindset? Because Chayish and Mishpat, as we learned, is very much Negea, and Rav Asher Weiss said this last year. The reason why, you're learning Chayish and Mishpat, says, Shver. Why is Chayish and Mishpat Shver? Chayish and Mishpat is Shver because a lot of it has to do, in Hilchos Tefillin or Hilchos Mezuzah, you don't need to be Oymed the Das of a person. How often did we have that? Learned Hilchos Mezuzah for 2.5 months, Rabbi say. We did not have, this is an advertisement for those guests who are here to learn Hilchos Mishpat. But we rarely did we go into the Oymed Das of a person, what a person is thinking. The reason why Chayish Mishpat is so shver, because there's 2 parties to every case, and Chayish Mishpat is about cases, and often the Dayanim have to do Oymed Das. What was the person thinking? One of the things is, what is the person thinking is, when is a person mechabel shmira on something? And for this, we have to go into the das of a person. So there's a Taisvis and Baba Kama. Tzad Gimel. We'll learn that family will be there in a month. They have Samach, so you'll be there in 33 days.
Yeah, Machlekes in that Gemara before. Somebody puts something in somebody else's property in Baba Kama. What is he makabel on himself? Shimer of the property for the payers or not? That was the discussion we had.
So okay, wonderful. So I have people who are Bucky Bashas. I'm blown away. But let's learn a Gemara and Baba Kama, which
There's a second level too. Not only what's the person thinking, what is it reasonable for the person to have been thinking?
I grant you that 100%. So the question is, there's a Gemara here which is off-site. When I say off-site, it's not in the Sugya of Shaimer. It's in the Sugya in Baba Kama, in Perek Chayvul, where we're talking about Nizikin, and all of a sudden a piece of Shaimer gets into the Sugya. Let's learn this Gemara here. Gemara says, Remini.
Here it is.
Shavar eskadi karas ksusi chayiv. So the Gemara says Remini, not sure which the Gersa is. Lishmeyer, the pasuk says Keith and Ishal Re'eh. You can see on the side Chamayr Ashar Iseh V'chol Behema Lishmeyer. We're not 100% sure which Shomer this is. The Gemara makes a drasha Lishmar V'loy La'abed. Says Rashi. No, you're in the wrong. This is the Rad. You're in the wrong page. You're in the Rif. You're in the wrong page. You got to go back to the Gemara. That's it. The Gemara right there. So go down. Go down. The first wide line. For a minute. Lishmar v'lei la'abed. Lishmar v'lei l'kraya. Lishmar v'lei l'chalak aniyim. Says Rashi. What's going on here? Lishmar v'lei la'abed. Keeping Lishmar da afkida etza Lishmar. Then the Rashi never maskal Lishmar. Chayim b'pshia. V'lei kishim. Kidu etzlaim nasla abed. A guy said, here, take this and put it in make the pasuk yellow. Put it in the put it in the garbage. Or you know what? Give it away. That's not shmira. Like Korean by Lishmar. Kevin Damalechel. Kul su lay the mafkedninu. Once he said I'm giving this to you to give away. Where Ayman his das, they didn't want it anymore, and we're not giving this a transaction of a mafkid and nifkad. It's similar to after he's giving it away. So who's asking for the money now? He told him to give it to the aniyim. Uman katav aniyim. In Hilchais Chaysh Mishpat, as the Ilam knows, there's something called Mamshin Le'Tayvim. And here, every ani comes to say it's his. No, I can push it off to somebody else. So this is the shtickle of the Gemara, which talked about that a chiyuv shmira is not necessarily a chiyuv shmira. When you give it to be shomer, it has to be in a manas, not le'kaira your potter. So Taisus wants to know what's happening here. So Taisus says, "Tema, my kaparach, nai de potter le'kram pshia, le'matzinu shapatreim karav even be a dime." And by giving it away, le'kaira your potter even if it's a pshia. But the guy ripped it up here, be a dime. Yeshlayim the daikum and tanav le'lekray the loy boy el lifter kshenever the pshia in my area. Domle Masakraya, Philem Masakraya, El Shalem and Belush Shmira, Potter. And Tyson brings him a chilton. Lishmeyer, listen to this, and this is why we learn this. Tysus, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Ad Sheyafkid Esloi V'Yomer, Hela Chashmer Li. Everybody see this? Everybody see this Mechilta? When you want to create a Sheyev Shmira, you're mechuyev to give it to the Nifkat, and say, Heilach Shmeir Li. Avlomerle, a Nayach by Potter, Rabbi Sai. Watch my car for a minute. Okay. Chayvanat. Watch my car for a minute. Okay. Does that follow this Taisus dicta? Yes or no? Says Taisus that the Potter from Pshia, you don't need pasuk. That's pashut. However, until you are a shomer, you can't apply hilchais pshia. Okay, Rabbi Tzvi, you have a coat there, and you asked me to watch the coat. I'm a shomer. You asked me nothing, and I walked by. And I damaged that coat. I'm not chayiv medini pesheya. I'm not chayiv medini shmir that I was pasha. I'm chayiv medini mazik because there's no connection of mafkid and nifkad. So when does the mafkid and nifkad any one of the dal shleimrim obligations start? Taisus brings a mechilta which says l'chayra that you need to actually be Mekabel Shmira all the way through to be considered to be a Shimer. Now you can go to the next page, which is the Rif. And the Rif in Baba Kama.
Wait, the Tosfos doesn't say he accepts it. The Tosfos says you impose it upon him, there's no response.
But it's enough. We both agree to say that there was no, according to this Mechilta, there was no clear Kabbalah Shmira. That you agree?
By the way, if anyone's ever looked at the ticket he gets from a coat check from a wedding hall or something, each one says this ticket does not constitute a bailment.
That was already mentioned here on the floor. Everybody knows all the issues here with Bailey and the tickets. I just want me to right here one piece of Ramban, and then I'll put a central lump of Shakir on the table. The Ramban here on this sugya, say from Muhammad's Rabbi Sai. The way we're going to do this is the way we'll do it in the Mirza Hashem. We can get there to throw the Abishal Helfen. We're going to try to interact the halacha, the cases with the Yisaitis. But as much as you want to interact the cases, we need to get the Yisaitis first. So let's see this. The Yisaitis comes out of this Ramban. The Ramban in the Muhammad Hashem in this sugya says, Ein Hashemer with Olam Chayiv, without quoting the Mechilta yet, he says the Yisai, then he posts the Mechilta, similar to the Taisvis. Ein Hashemer Olam Chayiv ad Sheyemer L'Shmeir. Oi be'inyan shestam mashma lashon shmira. Here we go, Rabbi say. So the Mechilta says you got to watch. The Ramban adds, no, there's another way to Makabel Shmira. And that is, you see the Lashon? Now comes questions of being made. What is an action or a words which are Makabel Shmira? I thrust this phone into the hands of my entire barn here. He never said anything. He's not generally a shomer. We have no previous interaction. So Zichar, he's not chai. He's wasn't Makabel Shmira. Eich is chai. Le'yomo le'it lishmar. Amar b'lava pumad rabbanan b'gamar deshmar mi karma la'elam. You have to have a Kabbalah Shmira, and then he quotes the Mechilta. Le'elam v'nechai v'shem le'eich shmar li zeh. Avalarmalai, a nayach al zeh. Oh, can you do me a favor and watch my car? Potter. Now we have a whole new understanding of what creates the relationship. Given Shekain, Lamali Krayav, Lamali Kra, and then the Ramban asks Taisus Kasha and goes into questions of Shia where it's a Mazuk Yadayim, which is not our sugya. So the question, I'm going to close here because I assume Rav Veg will be ready in a second. The question for one of the lame on the floor is, when you Makabel Shmira, do you need a formal Kabbalah's Kinyan? So let's hear the Ilam's response to that.
Well, we see, like I mentioned before, in the Daf Yomi, we had that sugya. Just inviting you in is maybe Makabel Kinyan. There's no Kinyan there either. You just use language, invited him in, and the guy's responsible for the Zakin. To Shia a few weeks ago.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, we have Rayas and Gemaras. That's an interesting raya. But from the knowledge of Shas that all of you have in general, what things require Kabbalah's Kinyan and what don't? L'chayra, all is chayvesen that a person needs to mechayiv into. Any mechiris or knias that we do requires a Kabbalah's Kinyan. When you say, because you forget it, Kedushin is selling the chametz, right? You have a Kabbalah's Kinyan. Theoretically, when you did the closing to your house, you had a Kabbalah's Kinyan. What kind of Kinyan do you have there? Okay, so that's a different question. And when you closed it with the lawyer, you didn't necessarily pick up a pen. Why didn't you have to pick up a pen? Because you had a different type of Kinyan, a minig asaychrem, you had a situmta. A lot of these kinyanim are minhage, different type of kinyanim. But the fundamental question here: does a shomer need Kabbalah's Kinyan? Excellent question. I'm going to leave you with a lamdish shayla that the Achronim chayker. Are the chiluk between the sugya shayrim, are they derisive to chilukim? Meaning that the Torah is mechabit l'chadish, that each shomer has a distinct level of shmira because we are made the svara the das b'nei adam, how much a person is willing to be mekabel achrayas on a bekadon or its shmira. So therefore, is it a deraisa exeris akasav or no? Chazal midrabanan were made that yes, we did have Torah there are shayrim, but mikayach das b'nei adam, it was masor to Chazal to decide what shaymer will be willing to be mechayev on what. The side of this is if the siba of the chi of the shayrim is midina Torah in such a oifen that something that was nifgad b'shusai becomes a mamchavera that dinim of a pakadon, and that could be a midiraisa, or no, really it's not midiraisa. Really it's to Torah to vegestel dimei shayrim, And Chazal told you what the Oimei Das Adam would be on each case. What's the nafkamina? How this approaches will be for next time at Hashem. This is a Chakira, which is explicated both in the Chazanish and in Blade Malin and Chadusha Arba Yaleid. Other people discuss this, and we're discussing this perhaps. It's now my schus. I saw the Rav walk in.
That's cool.
I saw him walk in. Let's see.
Well,
Okay, Rabbi Sai. So today's Monday. After Harav Veg, there will be a shir by Rabbeinu Reb Chaim Roth. And tonight is Monday, so it'll be the regular shir at 8:00. We'll be concluding Yaakov Avinu's charge to his children in the Indian of Kriya Shema, Baruch Shem Kvei Malchusa and Tefillah. Tomorrow we'll be back to concluding Hilchos Mezuzah for the balance of this week. Rebbe Lindinsky will be here. A full schedule of these Mishpat Shurim and how they all can come on. We'll be doing it a mixture of in person and Zoom. We'll go out and Mitzvah Hashem later today or tomorrow, and they'll to be done. It's the schluss now to be able to introduce to the Olam Hagayin Reb Chaim Veg, Reish HaMedabrim, in the Ira Torah Lakewood, Binyani Chesh Mishpat, the head of the Kail of one of the very chashuv Batei Din in Lakewood, the Beis Havad, Harav Veg.